Greetings and welcome to the podcast for souldreams.com. That's dreams with a Z at the end of it instead of an S. My name is Kenyatta Robinson. Today is Monday, December the 4th, 2016. Today I want to talk a little more about the San Francisco 49ers. That's my favorite NFL football team. And the last 48 hours have definitely been fascinating, from the announcements early on Sunday that head coach Jim Tomsula was expected to be fired by the end of the day, to the press conference that was held earlier this morning by CEO Jed York. What makes it especially fascinating is that Jed York has made a point of not addressing the media during the season. From time to time, you may see a polarizing tweet or a cryptic tweet from him, but getting in front of microphones to answer questions about his football team is something that he said he would prefer to do at the end of the season, which on the surface is okay. However, I think the problem is that he's created an environment that actually calls for more communication. And the reason why I say this is because, over the past 2-3 years, the 49ers have been well known as an organization that frequently leaks information to the media. I mean, as a prime example was the story that Jim Tomsula would be fired. I mean, that information could not come from anywhere else except for the 49ers front office. So when you have an environment that, or a situation, an organization, I should say, that frequently leaks information, rumors to the media, that kind of creates an environment where someone needs to address the media to set the record straight. So I think the fact that, today was the day where Jed York kind of pops up out of his slumber to finally speak to the media and let the fan base hear directly from him, it just makes it even more fascinating and extraordinary as an event. So Jed York managed to speak for around 30 minutes, and that includes the question and answer period after he finished making his prepared statements. And, I give him credit for getting the message across that he wanted to communicate. He came across very well spoken and polished. But there are still some lingering questions about how the 49ers front office functions, how it operates, what the philosophy is, that are still unanswered for me. Jed York talks about wanting to raise Super Bowl pennants. I guess that's the way he put it. Only flags related to winning Super Bowls. And he talked about sparing no cost at finding the right head coach for the job. So the natural question would be, you already had a head coach that had the team in position to win a Super Bowl for 3 consecutive years, and Jim Harbaugh. Why was he removed? Why was he fired, essentially? And Jed basically, he didn't really want to talk about it. He just said that Uh, not here to talk about the past. It's time to look to the future. So we've never really received any verifiable information about how that all went down. All we got were the typical leaks and rumors that come out of the 49ers building, but never any confirmation about what went down. And that's frustrating, as a 49er fan, because to gain any confidence that they're going to get this thing right this time around, it would be helpful to know what went wrong in the Jim Harbaugh situation and why did they believe that Jim Tomsula would be the appropriate guy to get them to the next step, to the next level. That's still unanswered, and clearly we'll never get an answer to that question. So we're basically being asked to just go on faith that, Jed and Trent are going to get it correct this time. And, to be honest, I don't have that faith, that confidence. He sounded good today, or good enough, I guess. Not bad, not great. But for the most part, I think he said the right things. But, the trust is gone. And I know that for me personally, I have to wait and see how this coaching search plays out and who they end up hiring. And hopefully it's a hire that makes sense. They clearly need someone proven, not just as a leader of men, but also someone that has a vision on offense. So it needs to be someone who has proven success on the offensive side of the ball. And these are really it's the same criteria that was in place at this time last year. And they shocked us with the hiring of Jim Tomsula, who you couldn't check the box off on any of those requirements with the Tomsula hire. So, talk is cheap. They're doing a lot of talking, at least they did a lot of talking today, but need to see some tangible evidence that lessons have been learned, mistakes won't be repeated, and they're going to make the right hiring decision this time around. So we'll see. A couple of things really bothered me during Jed York's press conference. He made a lot of reference to his uncle. And we're talking about Eddie DeBartolo Jr., who shepherded the 49ers to 5 Super Bowls and really was the architect of the great history from which, Jed tries so hard to attach himself to. The comparisons need to stop. I mean, at this point, the only thing I see that Jed has in common with Eddie is just the family name. That's it. Eddie built the 49ers up from scratch when he bought the team in the 70s. Jed was handed the team by his mommy and daddy, and I mean that basically the rap on Jed is, he's a silver spoon kid with the Notre Dame education that's always had everything he wanted handed to him. Fair or not, he hasn't. I mean, he got that stadium built. I'll give him credit for that. So in that regard, he did accomplish something, especially in California, where public money for new stadiums is like a faux pas. So I give him credit for that. But as far as football achievements, can't give him much credit. When he had a good head coach and ran him out of town for reasons that have not yet been explained. So I wish he would stop talking about how he had conversations with Eddie DeBartolo, or he texted Eddie. Just let that go. Stop that. Also, tired of hearing him make all these references to tweeting. I mean, he's got to be like the primary tweeting NFL owner, but he admitted that communicating through social media is not ideal. And I thought he talked a little bit too many references to tweets during his press conference. It just, I can't really put my finger on exactly, why that bothers me so much, but it just does. It seems undignified to me. I guess maybe that's where it is. Like, there should be some intern somewhere working for the 49ers who's responsible for their tweets. But I don't want to see tweets from the owner about things of substance. And, it's apparent that is his preferred method of communicating with us. In a perfect world, he would put out a 72-character tweet and be done with it. And that's just not going to work in the NFL. So one of the big questions about today was Trent Baalke, the general manager. Baalke has got to be the one considered to be responsible for the shocking lack of talent that is on the roster currently. The incredible amount of Pro Bowl caliber talent that was allowed to walk away, and the inability to replace it based on poor free agent signings and poor drafts, the draft classes over the past few years. There was a philosophy that the 49ers had such depth that they could afford to use a second round pick on players. Like, they treated them like red shirts. And I think that has bit us, because we just haven't seen tangible results from all of those draft picks that Baalke was stockpiling. I mean, LaMichael James, Jenkins, a wide receiver, Lemonnier. The names are just too many for me to rattle off, but tangible contributions from these guys have been next to nil, and that is a huge reason why the 49ers didn't have anywhere to turn after so many departures last season. So Trent Baalke, Jed made it clear that Baalke is not going anywhere. I mean, I was keeping my fingers crossed that there would be a new general manager search in addition to a new head coaching search, but he made it clear Baalke is entrenched in his position and that he will be leading the search for the